Thank you, Mr. Feenstra. Now recognize Mr. Evans of Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member, for this hearing. I would like to follow up something my colleague, Gwen Moore from Wisconsin, to Ms. Everard. What confident workers data did the Secretary of Labor and Dodge obtain from the Office of Inspector General? Asked by what is the risk to workers of Dodge shared the data as they did with RS and SAA?
Sure. So the current face of fraud, as big as it is, comes from leaks generally outside the system. And so, it came from breaches that happened that we've all heard about, in the press. And they were able to use those fraudulently stolen IDs to apply for benefits. And fraud got as big as it did. My concern is creating a single point of failure and, information not being securely stored. I do have confidence that when the OIG was the only one with access to the PII, the personally identifiable information, that they were storing it securely. I have less confidence with Doge.
Ms. Can you talk more about overpayment versus fraud and why the overpayment rate is much higher than the fraud rate?
Sure. Overpayments are mostly mistakes falling into two categories. One is work search, and the other is reporting earnings. Work search is sometimes states ask claimants to keep their work searches in a log, and they're not very good at keeping those work searches, and they get asked weeks and months later what their work search was for that week, and they can't report accurately. And so that's a huge percentage of work search error. And then income reporting is also very difficult. If you have a part-time job, you're not going to really understand the difference between reporting earnings and reporting when you got paid. And if you have a part-time job, you might not know what you earned that week, but you'll know what you got paid. So a lot of part-time workers report when they got paid instead of what they earned, and that's an improper payment.
So I thank you for your testimony. Can you talk more about the confidential data that was leaked by Dodge from the Inspector General's office? What are the risks of the data being shared?
Well, so far the only thing that we've really seen is a discussion of some practices on social media, which isn't great. But we're concerned because SSA data was transmitted on an unsecured server, and so in general, that particular agency's handling of information doesn't seem the most secure.
Can you talk more about ways to prevent future unemployment insurance fraud? What are changes that would you implement?
Boy, that's a big question. I think states should really implement as many cross matches as possible. States should regularly engage with their frontline staff who see day to day what these patterns are. I think that's incredibly helpful. I think improving technology, figuring out where and when to put in various fraud interventions. For example, in some states, it might not make sense to check everybody's ID at the door, but rather check ID once you're not as sure that somebody is a fraudster. There may be some more cost-effective ways of doing things, and we're in the process of figuring that out, and we will have a report that we will be able to share with you within months.
If Ms. Moore, you have any questions to it, Ms. Moore? Comments?
No, this is your time.
Okay, I want to thank you sincerely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Get
Evans.
back to the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.